You're listening to Those Canadian Lads podcast. Here are your hosts, Geoff and Brad.
Good evening, and welcome to the first of hopefully many documentary/book club on Those Canadian Lads. Tonight we will be diving headfirst, dissecting if you will, an HBO documentary titled Tiger. It will be about the life of Tiger Woods, his epic rise, and his fall back to earth. And maybe rising up again. But before we get going on that, Brad, how are you doing this evening?
I love how you brought that in. Diving head first. Is the pool full of water? Because if not, we're going to crack our heads open and smash them right off the get-go here. It'll be a quick episode of Those Canadian Lads podcast, episode 15. Doc Club, baby, how's it going?
I'm great. And yourself?
Oh, man, it's going pretty good tonight. I'm excited to talk about this documentary. It was... it caught me off guard. I didn't realize it was coming up. It didn't have the same kind of splash that The Last Stand did with the Michael Jordan documentary, but I think this one's going to resonate with a lot of people out there because obviously everybody knows who Tiger Woods is.
Yeah, obviously you had seen it before I did. I finally finished watching it last week. It is a two-part documentary. Each one's about an hour and a half. So you are dedicating some decent time towards watching it. But as soon as I finished watching it, I texted you immediately. I'm like, we're talking about this documentary, and I'll pre-jump into this by saying I'm not a Tiger Woods fan. I've actually not really gotten the allure of Tiger Woods, but I will say this documentary, although unauthorized from the Tiger camp, and he did not participate in it, and you can tell there's key members of his family and friends circle who didn't either, but still a very interesting documentary, an interesting take on his epic rise and his and eventually brought him down for the better part of a decade. So definitely a good documentary to watch.
Oh, I think it's going to be awesome. The Doc Club is going to be something that, and maybe we'll throw a book in there too, so we'll have to add book to the title. But it's something that we're going to do about once a month here on Those Canadian Lads podcast, and we're going to really try to, dive into different topics and maybe bring some other people within our network, and maybe drive them into some stuff on the UFO phenomenon or sports documentaries, things like that, and try to get some different perspectives on things and maybe a different viewpoint. I'm a big Tiger Woods fan. I love Tiger Woods. I think he he's rose from the ashes. He was burnt to a crisp, and he's rose back up and recreated his image and his life. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that during, our review of the documentary, but I'm a big fan. So, we got both sides of the spectrum tonight here with Geoff, a non-fan, probably a Bubba Watson or, Phil Mickelson supporter, and Brad here with Tiger Woods, jammies on. So,
well, before we dive into the documentary, we'll touch on a few things that are going on in the world. Important things are happening all around us. I will say golf's one of those sports, although I really enjoy golf and I like playing as often as I can, which is not as often as I'd like, obviously. But one of the things about golf is I've never really understood cheering for an individual. I don't get the allure of the individual golfers. Now, having been to a PGA event, I will say it is a unique event to go to, and I highly recommend anyone, even if you're a kind of a casual golf fan, you should go. And you follow a few of the golfers and chase after them, and you see some intricacies in their game, and they interact with the crowd, and you get some fun out of that type of stuff. But realistically, on a week-to-week basis, I really don't care who wins every tournament, and I probably don't watch as much as the more severe fan. So.
No, for sure. And there's a lot of stuff going on, obviously, in the world right now. There's the Texas snowfall and cold snap. Obviously, they're getting the polar vortex that we got last week, freezing our cojones off up here in Canada, specifically in Alberta and the prairies. And then tomorrow, which is, I'm so pumped up for this, is Perseverance, the NASA rover. The new NASA rover with a helicopter attached to it is going to be doing the suicide run into the thin atmosphere of Mars and all those engineers and technicians and people who built this bloody spaceship and rover are going to be like biting down on their knuckles, just praying that this thing makes it to the surface of Mars in probably our best chance for potential finding,
Finding of life.
microbial life on another planet. So within our solar system. So it's a pretty big day to start those events off with the Perseverance NASA rover.
Don't get me wrong, somebody's going to tell me my numbers aren't correct here, but what I had heard was that it's going to effectively go from 20,000 kilometers an hour to nothing and safely land on the planet, which I think an accurate representation of it was from New York to London in 15 minutes, which when you think about it is an insane speed reduction. As much as I'm disappointed in humanity constantly, I am utterly amazed what we're capable of doing from the engineering perspective of things. It is amazing we figured that out.
Oh, this is just, the brightest minds, the best computers pulling this together. They haven't succeeded yet. So, Elon Musk keeps blowing up starships that are planned to go to Mars with human beings in them. So he better get that fixed pretty quickly, or he'll be tanking that the stock of his pretty quickly with his company. But I don't know. I'm pretty pumped up for this new opportunity to find potential life on another planet. So,
well, and I think this is a good segue in regards to the one bit of UFO news I have for tonight's podcast.
Oh, UFO news, you say?
A little bit of UFO news. Now, it's not necessarily anything super interesting because may not be anything new, but obviously the American government has come out and said we have 180 days to disclose what we have in regards to information that we've been generally hiding from the public. Well, who knows if it's done, or who knows if we just got the first wave, but the CIA dropped 2,700 pages of literature in regards to what they have on UFO knowledge. I don't know if it's on the Smithsonian website. That's where I had found the information. But effectively, they just data dumped 2,700 pages for viewing pleasure to the general public. Now, it's going to be up to somebody with more free time than myself to comb through that and find the interesting stuff in there. But I am admittedly shocked. I would have bet my bottom dollar on with the Biden administration, we were not getting anything out of this.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but that actually came out like 5 weeks ago.
I saw it in the news yesterday.
Oh, you probably got some refresh on something.
Oh.
But there's a Twitter feed, a guy on Twitter named the Black Vault, and he was the guy going through the Freedom of Information Privacy Act or whatever. And unless this is new that I haven't seen.
This is
but
new.
That was CIA information as well. So
that was new. In the article, they did reference that guy getting that information.
Oh,
and so this is a new dump. New dump. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in that whole UFO paranormal universe. Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, who were part of Tom Long's group, have left his group to the Academy of the Stars or whatever the hell it's gone. So some shifting, some moving, some new free agents on the market. In the whole UFO game, it's getting crazy. 2021. Are they gonna let us know what's going on?
Or it's entirely possible these guys have just realized that they've wasted 3 years of their lives and it's time to just make tail and get out.
So. You know what though? It's funny just watching some of these UFO like crazy people. I'll just call it as it is, but they got all these theories that they're like black ops trying to put out disinformation and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Like, whatever. Just tell me if they're here or not. I don't think people care. They showed us videos from, 3 years ago or whatever, the 2017, Navy videos and stuff like that. Like, dude, like nobody gave a shit. It's during COVID. So nobody's going to give a shit now. And most of the Americans are cold right now. So they're not release it now.
A chunk of them are, yeah. No, it'll be obviously as that. Like, I don't think we're getting anything concrete out of the administration, but yeah, we'll wait and see.
The administration.
That's what it's going to be called for the next 4 years. The administration. It's like a tag team from WWE.
Ooh.
In other news, we'd briefly discussed it while kind of setting up the show. COVID numbers are down across the board. I know in Alberta they've come down quite a bit. Interestingly enough, actually, if you look at, I think it's the eight Western nations, give or take, from January 5th, they've all peaked and started coming down.
Yeah.
And there's no reason, or at least no explanation at this point in time, of why that's happening. And I know there was a lot of shutdowns leading into the holiday season, and maybe this is a direct reflection of that maybe good move, but it is pretty weird that all of a sudden it just started dropping in every country. And India's is dropped the furthest, which probably wouldn't be affected by those lockdowns. So
maybe they're like putting like fluoride in the water, but they're putting COVID vaccines in all our water now, and like we're all becoming immune.
Well, the conspiracy theorist in myself is that the aliens who were just infecting everyone with COVID have just got tired of it and moved on. So
this is not fun anymore.
But one of the interesting things that came out, it was a New York Post article, and it was effectively going through the differences between the California numbers and the Florida numbers. Now, two states that are, relatively similar climates. Somebody would be like, oh, it's way more wet at one place.
Yeah, Disneyland and fucking Disney World, California and Florida COVID numbers, baby.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to acknowledge this really quickly to the listener. I really hope that through the magic of editing, that was seamless, because we're having a little technical difficulty.
Yeah, Florida. 10 minutes in between.
But it is wild. It's two states that are completely different from each other in regards to how they handled the COVID, disease, and the number of cases per 100,000 people is almost identical. So apparently, you just shouldn't do anything, I guess.
Who did it right? Who knows? Apparently, Florida. They hosted a Super Bowl.
Exactly, and they didn't shut down their economy. So there's an argument to be made. If your numbers are going to come out the exact same, and like, I get most of my California news from the Adam Carolla podcast, and from what I understand from his podcast, you can't do anything. So it's lockdown.
A telltale sign would be death.
Yeah. I would wager Florida's is probably higher than due to the elderly.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anything else before we dive into Tiger?
No, we need to segue into it. I know you and I are both excited to talk about this fantastic documentary. I watched all 3 hours in one evening. Couldn't turn my head away from it. It was fantastic. So, Jeffrey, this is your night. This is your doc. You lead us away.
I like how you made it sound like I wrote, directed, and produced it or something. I just happened to be
and starred.
Well, I think the best way to kind of go through it is a little bit of a chronological standpoint, and I've picked out a few things that, although I was aware of this in the Tiger documentary, in Tiger's life, I think the documentary kind of hit home a few things that I probably wasn't really focused on when it came to him. So the whole world knows this guy is the most successful modern golfer on the planet. And a lot of people would make the argument he's the greatest golfer of all time. I think he's 4 behind Mickelson.
Jack Nicklaus, 3. Only 3. 15 majors for Tiger. Jack has 18.
18. And he does acknowledge in an interview that they air in the thing that his whole career is gearing up for 19 majors. Like they ask him, would you rather have 100 wins or 19 majors? And he immediately 19. Goes, 19. The answer is 19. So obviously you get a kid like Tiger Woods, and obviously he was skilled from a young age. But
I don't think the word skilled is the exact. He was forced,
pounded into golf.
If you wanted this documentary summed up in 2 seconds, Daddy's fucking crazy. Daddy likes golf. Daddy puts Tiger in golf. doesn't let Tiger do anything else. Bangs white women all over the place.
But the mom
Yeah.
is the mom's the same. She was just as much of a psychopath when it came to his development in golf. It's nuts. But yeah, you're right. You get like a dad in Earl Woods who not only forced his son to just focus solely on golf, but then he fills his head with, you're the golden child. You're going to bring people together. You're going to bridge the gap between races.
You're the Messiah. He
this
called them the Messiah.
it's insane. I can only imagine how psychologically damaging that is to a young kid. To
I brainwash my kids with Oilers hockey. Like, it's evident that I do it. Like, do you like Hunter? Hunter's the mascot. You should like Hunter. Oh, look, you like that name, Slater Cuckoo. Cuckoo, it's fun. Say it. But Earl Woods took it to, we always joke about the drive home, and there's now courses that parents have to take before they put their kids in sport. And it's the drive home, the coaching after the game. Tiger Woods was coached from the minute he popped out of his mom's hoo-hoo.
Womb.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something ruder. I wanted to get ahead of you.
This is a family podcast. I can't talk like that.
Yeah.
But that being said, like, Tiger's dad, Earl Woods, he had a mission. He was on a mission. He was a hardcore dude. He liked to play hard, party hard, and he took Tiger down that road. And it's just amazing. Tiger's life is pretty much, you can see it in this documentary, predetermined essentially to either be a failure, for what happens to him early on in his life. It's amazing.
Well, and like, obviously the pressure was there, and you're right. His dad came from a military background in which his job in the military when he served in Vietnam was placing explosives next to where Viet Cong soldiers were officially stationed. That's a dude sneaking in undetected and blowing people up. That's an intense dude no matter what. But like, he brought that intensity to the golf course, and how he was going to teach his son, and how he was going to effectively run his family with his wife. They were militaristic. They were intense on a young Tiger Woods. And I can't help but be drawn to it. And I'm certainly not making any accusations here, but you think of today's modern athletes, and because we're in Edmonton, Alberta, I'm going to use Connor McDavid. How many of these people have been through the ringer with their families like this? And how many success stories are driven by that narrative coming from the parents? It can't be just Tiger. It's got to be more.
No, I think there's a lot of parents that obviously push their children, to the point that either they end up not loving the sport and pulling completely away from it, or they end up excelling but become train wrecks down the road, right?
Wow.
And, yeah, and this is a prime example. And you know what? If this doesn't humanize Tiger Woods, nothing will. This documentary totally humanizes Tiger Woods in the way that, I looked at Tiger as just the golfer. That's why I'm a fan. I'm a fan of his play on the course, the theatrics that he pulled, not his lifestyle, his off the course type stuff. No, I never paid attention to that stuff. It was always that, okay, this guy is the greatest of all time. He has transcended the game just the way he plays. He's a ultra competitor. He wants to murder you on the course. He's that guy. He's the alpha dog on the golf course, which there was that one scene when he was playing Phil, and he totally tried to get in Phil's head, and just like, there's that gamesmanship in golf that they don't really talk about during, the CBS broadcast. They're doing their whispering and, oh, Tiger standing up to the putt. It's like Tiger getting in Phil's fucking head right now.
Well, yeah.
I outdrove you, motherfucker.
Well, and you're referring to when he outdrives him with a 3-wood.
Yeah.
And then Phil's like, you usually hit it that far? He's like, further. And it's, At the same time, like I'm amazed that a professional golfer of Phil's stature was completely destroyed by a drive. Like I got to imagine that there was more than just that there, because he's too good of a golfer to have had that happen to him. But hey, maybe it is the intimidation of Tiger Woods. I don't know.
Well, they've talked about that throughout the years, and they have brought that up on broadcasts and things like that. But, this kid, just didn't have a normal childhood. They brought his girlfriend in, which there was some pretty hokey type interviews and stuff like that. But like, it was kind of cool to see like him, being loose, being a kid, some of those home videos that she had of him, doing the old saxophone, with the shirt unbuttoned. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that scene.
With his hair drawn on for some reason.
Yeah. But he was a kid. And it's like, hey, this guy, one of the richest athletes in the world. At one time, he was just a kid trying to find his way, but his parents were always in the background controlling the narrative.
Well, and that was that was actually my next point about that I'd written down here, was that, she explains how that's where he was able to be himself. He was able to act like a kid, and then it gets readdressed again later with Rachel Yucata, effectively. But he was so suppressed that he was finally able to cut loose when he was hanging out with his girlfriend's family. And then effectively it ends with a letter, a very formal, weirdly written letter that you could clearly tell was not the work of a teenage Tiger Woods.
Oh, he didn't write that?
No, of course not. But it's all in the back of like, so he comes home from Stanford to be able to kind of like go see his family, but he sneaks back into town on a Friday to be able to go see his girlfriend. And then it comes out in the wash that his parents expected him on Friday, but he's, hid out till Saturday. And they like reprimand him. He's a college age kid seeing his high school girlfriend. How many of us wouldn't go see our girlfriend after being away in college? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's sad, eh? Like, it's actually like really sad to kind of see that kind of play out in the documentary on the front end, and then it just starts to get crazy for him, right? It was kind of cool though to see how, like, right from an early stage, is like dad was putting him on the pedestal. Obviously, he's getting him on the talk show with Bob Hope, and hitting golf balls at 2, and then all the TV coverage. Like, this kid's been pushed in front of the media right from his first years on the planet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And let's face it, it's the media attention and the pressure that the spotlight brings on, which, kind of got all this rolling. One of them were telling parts of the movie was, he's taking a picture with a bunch of kids in front of his learning center. And one of the teenage boys gets caught on camera, effectively saying to him, like, "Oh, you must get used to this." And he's like, "No, it's always weird." And this is a guy who was paraded by his parents out as a child. At this point, he's probably been on Oprah twice. He's in Nike campaigns, and he's so uncomfortable with it that he's like got this awkward smile while doing it. It's just like, this is a guy who wasn't comfortable doing it.
I think it's, at the end of the day, he just wanted to play golf.
Well, I do think that is probably it. Well, let's face it. If you're going to cheat on your wife that often, there's also a part of you that just wants to go get tail. Which,
no, but you know what? That's even deeper, I think. My favorite part is the part where the golf pro who hung out with his dad all the time.
Oh,
there's always teenage Tiger in the background. Like, so Tiger's dad would roll up to the golf course with a motorhome and serve cocktails to some of the students that were being taught. So some of the ladies at the old golf club, and Tiger would be probably at the range smoking balls, and Tiger's dad was getting his balls smoked. But anyways, that's the thing, right? And this Tiger saw that at a young age. But to be honest, one of the favorite parts of the episode is this, that golf pro is like, God, I gotta do it, champ. I gotta do it. Of course you're gonna do it. You're getting paid to talk, motherfucker. They're there to break the news.
Well, and that's one of the things too, and I can understand why Tiger Woods and his camp would want to distance themselves from this documentary. You got a bunch of kind of fringe people speaking about it, but yeah, like this guy's outlining a story about how Earl Woods, his just getting nasty in an RV in the parking lot of the Naval Golf Course while Tiger's practicing his swing, and you're just like, it's such a weird scenario. And like, don't get me wrong, like, could you imagine knowing that your father is doing that? You're 40 feet away. That's insane. The sanctity of marriage is destroyed in your head. But
That's what I mean. Like his whole life has been changed from that point, right? In the documentary, right? So in his life, but in the documentary, like that's laying the course now for his future stuff. But yeah, it's messed up.
Well, I think one of the things that comes with this too is that because you are a child prodigy of golf and you're thrust into the spotlight, you're squeaky clean from that point on. It's just like everything is going to be grooming you to be the perfect specimen to be in the spotlight. Once again, pressure from his father. You're going to be the messiah to unite everybody. But meanwhile, you're like, well, I should probably get married. I should probably have a family for my family campaign and stuff like that. There's undoubtedly pressure in society that, like, if you're going to be one of these public figures like that, you have to live a quote unquote certain life, or everyone's going to kind of see you as the bad boy or something else. And you don't necessarily want to be seen as that. But at the same time, if you repress the fact that you want to go out there and meet a ton of women, you want to go party with Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley, you're going to act out at a certain point.
Right there. That's what I want to touch on. So at one point there, he starts hanging out with Jordan, Barkley, Vegas, nothing good is going to come of that for him. Right. So, but he's somebody who obviously he's been pinned down, he needs to make some moves in his life apparently. So he does it, and it's all for the bad. But yeah, no, it's amazing just some of the stuff in this documentary that you kind of learn about him. I think it was the uncle that comes out, and that guy actually he gave a pretty, he was pretty generous with the ups, the downs, the falls. He wasn't giving Earl Woods like a thumbs up, you're a great dad. It's like, hey, you messed this kid up, by some of your parenting choices. And at the end of the day, Tiger and his dad became estranged, like,
oh, yeah.
And then the racialization of, the whole marketing, right? Nike coming in and they just tried to racialize it. Right. And, I think that backfired in some ways because Tiger comes out and he kind of denounced that he was black by saying he was Kablasian or
whatever terminology he used. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think that was just Nike. I think the family and the people around him took a calculated step in regards to how are we going to market this to everybody else. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we're talking about the mid 90s. The most popular athlete on the planet at the same time is Michael Jordan. This is at the height of the Bulls campaign. You mentioned The Last Dance, I think, earlier. This is right when The Last Dance is taking place effectively in real time. And Nike is going, we have the next Michael Jordan of a different world. And his camp's going, we're the next Michael Jordan of this world. So they went right into that campaign mode with it. So,
and he was.
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
he was.
He brought new viewers to golf. White, black, anything, like he brought people's eyeballs to the screen to watch golf that had never watched golf before. This guy tore up the PGA Tour from like 1997 to 2008, just murdered it.
Well, and
for a decade.
And he brought, like, it's no coincidence that was the height of golf's popularity. The Chris Rock joke is that the greatest golfer in the world is black and the greatest rapper on the world is white, referencing Eminem. It's just like, it was a time when that was allowed to happen. And golf viewership's down, is it not? Like with Tiger,
when Tiger didn't play, totally, there was no next guy, right? There was no superstar. There was a bunch of great players, but there was never that next generational player coming in. There hasn't been. Jordan Spieth started to, take off, but every time it's funny when you see these golfers, they get some money in their pockets, like Rory or Jordan at a young age. They kind of just like simmer down for a while, right? It's like too much money too fast, right? It's start enjoying life a little bit more, stop playing every tournament, stop getting out there as much. Whereas Tiger, I don't think it was about the money for Tiger. It was about the ego. It was about the win. It was about the kill. And that's that whole militarized, viewpoint that he had in his head, that whole competitive spirit that he had playing the game of golf, was going in and getting that kill every week by getting that trophy in his hands.
Well, we have no doubt that he's a competitive guy. Like he says sorry, I'm going to ask you to fact check me on this. It's Stevie Williams, the caddy.
Steve Williams.
So like when he's got the broken,
only his friends call him Stevie.
Well, we're close, obviously. but Tiger's got a broken leg, and at the end of this tournament, he hits the most famous golf shot on the planet and a Nike commercial within itself. And his caddy, saying, "Hey, you got to stop playing. You're going to wreck your career." And he's like, "Fuck off. I'm winning this." It's like, clearly that guy was willing to risk limb and life in order to win the next tournament. It didn't matter to him. He was winning.
The guy played with the back that was being torn to bits in front of your eyes. As a viewer, you're like, oh, come on. It's not a big deal. When you dive into the back problems that Tiger Woods was having, like this guy was like near like the situation where he wasn't going to be able to play with his kids anymore.
Well, he was unable to get out of bed. And this is a lifetime of now. We talked about the military training very briefly. Like I'm of a belief that if he had diversified his training away from golf, and maybe like these young guys that have come up since Tiger, who, well, I'm not going to play every tournament. I'm not going to win every tournament. I'm going to take time off. I'm going to go do other things. Maybe his back wouldn't be in shambles. Actually, I can 100% say his back wouldn't be in nearly as bad shape as it once was. But you swing with all of your might, week in, week out, every major, just keep going and going. It's like, of course you're messed up.
It was awesome to watch, though.
Yeah. So, so there's three last things really about, because anyone can go watch this and learn about Tiger Woods. We're not going to give you any information you don't know, or something the documentary doesn't touch on. But there's three things that really got me going, and the first one is referencing the back injury. So this is a guy who it's a DUI, but I don't know the American terminology for it, but he was so messed up on pain medication because of the back that when he's pulled over, he doesn't know what state he's in.
I felt sad for him.
Yes.
When I first saw the news story, it's like, oh, here we go again. Tiger Woods, fucking driving under the influence. But it's like, no, when you look at a news story, I'm like, and then you watch this documentary, you're like sitting there like, man, this poor motherfucker's been through so much. Yeah, he's made some bad choices, but like, this is just a guy, right? Who's, if he is anything now to me, he is a human being who has just battled, and he's had he makes a lot of money, but he's had a lot of shit in his life. Well,
as somebody who, quite frankly, when that mugshot came out of him doped up and he's, not clean shaven, he's looking a little worse for wear. There was t-shirts floating around with that picture on it. I thought they were funny and cool. And this is 4 years ago. So it's not even like I was like, oh, I was a 17-year-old kid. No, I was 34. It's a shame. It shouldn't be celebrated. This is a guy who, via the DUI, it was a scream for help, effectively. And yeah, you're right. This is a human being who we loved watching the downfall of it. And it was a sad part of the documentary for sure.
And this is why in 2019, when Tiger won the Masters, 11 years between major championships for him, when he walked up to that 18th green, a tear rolled down my cheek. I'm not going to lie, because what he did, where he came from with his back injury, with his personal problems, this guy, honestly, this is one of the most amazing achievements in sports. Personalized, whatever, fan of the guy, whatever. This is one of the most amazing comeback stories in the history of professional sports ever.
Well, and you segued it perfectly for me. You're right. One of the best stories of Tiger's career is the comeback at Augusta National at the Masters. Fuck Augusta National and fuck the Masters. The fucking hypocrisy of Billy Payne going out and lecturing Tiger Woods about what he's doing in his family life and how he's acting out in public. You're a you're a golf club. First off, screw you. You're not important in the society. Second off, you didn't allow blacks into 1990 and you didn't allow women into 2012. Screw you and your fucking organization in regards to being holier than thou about the mistakes of another human being. You guys are a hateful organization, and I don't care. My dad's been to the Masters. He loves it. It speaks of reverence of it. I'll never have an opportunity to go. I won't go. Screw that.
There goes our chance at winning the lottery, Geoff.
I refuse. It is. Listen.
You know what? I was on my notes tonight to talk about that as well. That chastising he took in public, and it's one of the commentators on the documentary called it a public whipping, and it was. It was that Southern chastising in public. You know, a white golfer would not have gotten that. Did Dustin Johnson get that when he got into some of his drug problems? They chastise? No,
not to that level,
no.
And there were parts of the documentary where I can't remember the name of the journalist who referred to it as that, and I agree with that journalist, and I agree with what you're saying. I know Bryant Gumbel had said a few things in regards to some race issues with Tiger that I may or may not agree with or disagree with. I just felt it was a little heavy-handed. But when it comes to an organization like Augusta National coming out and being like, well, we're going to put Tiger Woods in his place, the hypocrisy is beyond measure, in my opinion. I cannot imagine that you take the golden boy of your sport, who is clearly struggling with things going on, and everyone's like, oh, well, he just cheated on his wife. No, look, there's all types of evidence that things around him are crumbling, and you guys get on your high holy horse about it. Unreal, in my opinion.
And that's the other thing. It's like people jumping on, they always want to see the guy at top fall. And I think, you know, and it even happened this year, is like, instead of wanting Tom Brady to lose this year, the Super Bowl, and not that I wanted them to win because you would have had a fantastic day, and
which I did,
you know, as a big Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan that Geoff is, I wanted to see the guy, the greatest of all time, continue to be the greatest of all time, and I didn't want to see him fail. And I think that's maybe a shift in my age, just, you know, growing up a little bit, in the sense that, you know, there's that whole mindset of just, it's fun to watch people fall, and there really isn't anything fun to watch about that anymore. Like, I don't know if that's just, you know, just changing as you get into your 40s or something, or whatever, but, you know, or I don't know. It's just yeah, that's how I feel about that. And that whole thing with Billy Payne, you know, and he's no longer the chair of the Masters tournament, which is a good thing, because after this documentary, I'm sure there would have been a little bit more backlash than there probably was. But at the time, that wasn't a news story. Plus, the world's changed, right? So,
oh, absolutely, and yeah, you're right. Like, I agree with you. As a younger man, I probably would have been like, yeah, I relish the story of watching the mighty fall. And now, as I've gotten older, I've realized I'm like, it's not really a story I want to hear. But this brings me to my final big thing about the documentary. And the individual, I don't have the name in front of me, so I do apologize. I really should have been better prepared for this. But the dude from the National Enquirer, who is wearing a fucking bow tie. He's got, I think, hate tattooed on his fucking knuckles. I'm sorry for swearing so much in this. This is a Tiger Woods documentary. I just don't need to lose my mind. But this guy summed it up perfectly. His gross, deceitful organization, you know, goes to extreme lengths to prove that Tiger Woods is having an affair and cheating on his wife. Goes to the extent of retrieving a tampon from a parking lot where Tiger and somebody have met up, and then they use it for a catch and kill story so that he'll appear on another publication. But that's a business transaction. I can kind of get that thing to a certain extent. The dude summed it up perfectly. Who was Tiger Woods and why we needed to destroy him? he effectively talked of Tiger Woods as if Tiger Woods had gone above and proclaimed himself to be better than everybody else. And then they felt the need to tear him down. This is a problem in society. It is disgusting. And it's one of those things, too. There is a lot of talk of free speech going on in North America, in the world. There is a lot of concern about what people are saying. But how come we never object to the stories being told about celebrities and what mistakes they make in their public lives? And I kind of will admit a little bit of hypocrisy here. I watched a documentary about exactly this. This is an unauthorized documentary where two guys recorded and made a bunch of interviews about the people around Tiger Woods and telling his story without him being able to weigh in himself. So there's a little bit of that as well. But this has gone. Why don't we ever care about this type of stuff? Because celebrities they'll be fine. They're not human beings. They have money. We've celebrated them for so long. Therefore, we get to pull them down. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's gotten worse and worse. And I think part of the documentary series is we've got to get in this Free Britney campaign, the Britney Spears, because again, another celebrity who, the poor girl's dealing with some probably obviously huge mental health issues. And, people just, again, like tearing her apart, where fucking Justin Timberlake came out this week and apologized to her and Nipplegate there. Janet Jackson. Yeah.
I didn't see
but
that,
Cry Me a River, the song about Britney Spears cheating on him and things like that. Like the whole piling on of her at that time, which just obviously caused her a lot of pain and just, again, develops the pathway of destruction of these people, which don't need this, right? I can't believe we're defending celebrities, but in some instances, it's like, yeah, it's crazy.
Well, there's two facets that bother me. And one of them is, as I stated, the people who try to dig up the dirt on these people. Two, they do it because it makes money. So as a society, we're so fascinated with these people, we're willing to pay for the publication. We're willing to pay and watch the advertising on these sites that dig into people's personal lives, regardless of who they are. And don't get me wrong, I understand it's a weapon for these people to expand their brand as well. Like people go on Entertainment Tonight, or they give interviews promoting a movie. It happens every day. It's self-promotion. But it's just like, as a society, we're so disgusting in regards to wanting to just like get into the dirt of every person that like, it's like, why do we need to see drunken videos of people walking down the street on TMZ who have just gone out with their friends or family and maybe had a blown up with their family? Maybe they're going through a difficult time. We don't watch anything. We don't get any context. All we do is just relish in the fact that they are being torn apart in front of us. And you know what? We have a lot of problems going on in society. And when I was watching this documentary, this was one of the things that just kept hitting home on me. We do this far too much. We don't need to know this much about people. There was a time when Frank Sinatra probably was cheating on his wife, driving home drunk, and when he got pulled over by the cops, he slipped the cop a 50 in his driver's license, and the cop escorted him home. I'm not saying that's right, but it was probably good that we didn't know every detail of his life, and that's where we've come off the rails.
Well, the access to information, cameras 24/7 on these people, they can't live a life. And at the end of the day, like, they're doing something good for the world in the sense of they're artists, movie stars. Let's use actors. I'm not even going to call them movie stars, actors and directors and people in the movie industry. They create things for us to enjoy, right? And that goes for musicians. And at the heart of it, this is art, right? These people create art for humanity to enjoy. Athletes play for the fans. It's a form of expression and art as well for people to follow. And it is disgusting. Society has gone too far. Growing up in the 80s and early 90s, it wasn't like this. It wasn't there that access to pick up your phone and tweet at Tiger Woods, "You piece of shit, you piece of garbage, you suck, I hate you." You can say that to Tiger Woods right now on your phone. he won't respond to you, but you can say that to him.
He might.
Yeah. Why would you say that to me? I don't even know you.
But I think it's a little bit different because Tiger puts himself out, like, okay, not saying Tiger, a celebrity puts himself on social media so that they can interact with their fans if they choose to. But this is new, quote unquote, news organizations and other people going out of their way to try to track down information about these individuals and then do a salacious story about it. That at least if Tiger Woods goes on Twitter and tells somebody to go screw themselves, or LeBron interacts with a fan at a game and tells them to screw off himself, I have no problem with that. That's your choice. But it's like when somebody goes rooting through LeBron's garbage to try to prove the fact that he cheats on his wife. I'm not saying LeBron cheats on his wife, but that's what they did to Tiger. They went looking for the details. What was wrong with the guy just going for a drive? Who knows where he would end up? Who cares? Why do we have to report it?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Let's leave celebrities alone. They've been through enough.
Well, I'll put it this way: like at the end of the day, they're going to go promote. People are going to go promote stuff. They're going to give interviews. They're going to say things that they probably didn't mean to say, and people are going to fuck up along the way. C'est la vie. We need to stop focusing on that. We need to stop paying attention to that type of stuff, and we need to focus on things that are actually more important in our lives and leave it be. You don't need to focus your whole livelihood about it. Just forget it. It's not enriching your life either.
Unfortunately, Geoff, it comes down to money, and there's a sector of the population that's willing to pay that money to get that information in front of their eyes. You know, it's unfortunately it's become such a big business that, you know, the morality of it all is out the door, right? It's now about, but the business probably, yeah.
But the business exists. Like we talked about with Bo choosing what he wants to do with his dollar. If you choose to do with your dollar, I'm judging you for it. That's what I'm saying. It's like because if everyone looked away and stopped paying attention, there'd be nothing to make money off of. Like, and we could just listen to the individual put out their own message and judge them accordingly on what they said and did in that context, not what went rooting through their stuff. That's it. I'm done.
Okay, to segue away from rooting around in garbage, what I loved about this documentary, not only I love the editing. I love how it was kind of put together in this story. They built a story from the moment he was born till where he is today. I love how they pieced it all together, and you know, the closing of the documentary is him, you know, walking, you know, through the gallery at the Masters with his son Charlie, who, man, I don't know if you've seen this kid swing a golf club, but he has some potential talent. So he doesn't have a bad coach in his dad, and I'm sure he'll be trained a little differently than Earl. But one of the things they do, I don't know if you know this guy's name, but Wright Thompson from ESPN, he does essays. Kind of how like Stephen Brunt does essays for Sportsnet and things like that, but he does essays for ESPN. Go back and try to watch some of these essays that Wright Thompson does. He's a contributor to this documentary as well, but he's a Southern boy. He's just got that classic voice. I'm all about just that broadcasting and, like, you know, the content and the producing and, you know, how they put these things together. And, you know, I just love that they added Wright Thompson to it because I'm a huge fan of his. And actually that was one of the, I geeked out. I'm like, it's Wright Thompson. This guy's fucking amazing.
Wright Thompson doesn't carry the same amount of clout with me, but I will go look up some of that stuff. But I will say, obviously, I think we're in agreement. The documentary is worth the watch.
Oh, it was so good.
So
it was so good.
It's definitely worth it.
I think you'll come out of it, listener, with not an appreciation for Tiger Woods, but an understanding of Tiger Woods.
Well, I think you put it perfectly really early on in the podcast here, is that it humanizes Tiger Woods. So it gives you the opportunity to see the human facets that this guy truly is and what he went through. And, you know, maybe do a little self-reflection on how you would have fared in that situation as well. And because of that, I enjoyed the documentary. So,
if we had a ranking system, Geoff, what would you rank this documentary?
I'm gonna say out of five Canadian lads, as I think you ranked something earlier on or last episode. I'm gonna say it's a 4.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say it's a 4. The only thing that I didn't really appreciate, I'm not gonna say it's just a criticism, and I find this about a lot of things when it comes to not necessarily documentaries, but more specifically movies about celebrity. Like I'll go to the Will Smith Muhammad Ali movie. Like nothing against the movie, it's just I didn't learn anything new throughout it, and I'll say that too. Like I didn't learn any really new facts about Tiger. I got a different appreciation of who he was as a human, so I enjoyed it. I'll say 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 as well. I don't think we're going to. We got to find something that we can debate a little harder because I think both of us really enjoyed this documentary. But I'd give it a 4 out of 5. I'm a fan of it. I'm hoping he can get to that 19 number, at least tie Jack Nicklaus. It seems like there's definitely a rivalry there with him and Tiger in the sense that Jack likes to be on top. You know, he's in his either early 70s or late 60s, and he's not willing to give it up. the knowledge that he's the GOAT, right? So yeah, but I think that image of Tiger, raising his fists in the air, it was on the front page of Sports Illustrated, will go down as, one of the most iconic, maybe sports images of our generation. There's images from our parents' generation. There's, the Cassius Clay, Sonny Liston. There's the Jack Nicklaus walking the putt into the hole. The Gretzky, there's a new kids on the block, Bob Cole image of them raising the Stanley Cup. I think Tiger, raising his fist in the air in 2019 comes down to as one of the most iconic sports moments in our generation, really.
Yeah, couldn't agree anymore. As I said, I'm not somebody who was a Tiger Woods fan. I'm not somebody who cheers for individual golfers, but we all know the story. We all know who he is, and we've all seen the images. It is exactly that. But one last thing before we let go of this, though. One of the most awkward images and little video clips about it is after his father has passed away and he's hugging Steve Williams. And you can tell Steve Williams just wants to let go of that hug and get out of it as quickly as possible.
Oh, yeah.
but Tiger won't let go. And I'm like, oh, that's a hurting human being, man. That guy needed that hug.
Well, and that's the worst part of it is that, you're experiencing all this emotion. There's millions of people watching at home. There's thousands of people watching you at the golf course, and you're just a blubbering mess of emotion. Obviously someone who's lived with a lot of emotional pain throughout your life, and for it to come out at the end of a golf tournament, and the only person there is your buddy Steve. Who you cut off,
who in like 3 short years you'll cut off completely. So yeah. Anyways, but, so I said, dear listener, I think you can take our recommendation and go out and watch this HBO documentary. Before we wrap up for this evening, Brad, anything else of interest you want to discuss?
No, not tonight. I think we've covered everything that we need to cover. Those Canadian Lads doc session is going to be good. I'm pretty pumped up for the next one. It's going to be Area 51, Bob Lazar. I'm checking it right now. I don't know if you've seen it, Geoff, but I think we'll be exposing it to a few people in our network of maybe non-UFO followers and see if we can get some feedback on our next doc session.
I think that'll be perfect because it won't take us too long to watch a new documentary and digest it, and then give our listener a really good opportunity to get an idea of what it would be before they go watch it. And if it gives us 2 months to knock down a book, we can do that at the same time, discuss that in the third month. Perfect.
I do have a book because I was watching the Jordan Peterson podcast for the first time. I'm not an avid listener of Jordan Peterson podcast, but he was interviewing Matthew McConaughey. And Matthew McConaughey has a new book out called Green Light, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, I thought it was actually a pretty interesting conversation.
I'm sure it was. I'm not super enthusiastic to read anything Matthew McConaughey wrote, but sure, why not?
He's a professor, man.
Isn't it like of acting?
Well, he's good at it.
Oh, that's totally arguable. Name a lot of his good movies.
That one he was in?
Yeah, exactly.
Interstellar. He was fucking great in Interstellar.
That's more Christopher Nolan than him. I don't know. He's also in a movie where he plays a midget.
What?
Yeah, it's called like not Happy Feet. It's something like that. We'll make sure we have that correct for when we read his book. So
I don't think you're allowed to call him that.
I think that's what they called him in the movie. I think if I can
little people.
Little
man.
people. I think it's called Little People, actually.
We were able to take it down the wrong path tonight, and I like that.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Well, dear listener, thank you for joining us for episode 15. 15, Geoff. 15 episodes.
Who would have thought we would have came this far?
There's going to be a 16th.
There will be a 16th. There will be. All right, well, I will say, dear listener, thank you very much for tuning in. Please, I'll say thank you again for bearing with my losing my mind a little bit in regards to my thoughts and feelings about how the public reacts to things. And I'll say good night. Thank you very much.
And when you always say dear listener, I'm only assuming that you think there's only one person that listens to this podcast. So dear listener, or theirs, thank you for listening and have a great night.